William Whewell was an English polymath whose intellectual pursuits spanned a variety of disciplines. From his work as a philosopher of science to his contributions in theology, history, and the natural sciences, Whewell's career is a testament to the interdisciplinary nature of intellectual achievement. Throughout his life, Whewell offered valuable lessons, both in terms of his approach to knowledge and the specific ways in which he bridged different domains of thought. In this video, we will delve deeper into the lessons that can be gleaned from Whewell's life and work. We will explore how his intellectual curiosity, commitment to clarity in communication, and the integration of ethics and science provide insights that are not just applicable to the scientific community but to various other fields of life, work, and intellectual engagement. Whewell's life continues to be an inspiring model of how to approach the pursuit of knowledge, perseverance, and intellectual integrity. 1. The value of interdisciplinary learning and intellectual curiosity. One of the most profound lessons we can draw from Whewell's life is the power of intellectual curiosity and the value of interdisciplinary learning. Whewell was not confined to any one academic discipline. His interests and contributions ranged from the natural sciences to theology, philosophy, and history. This interdisciplinary approach was both a reflection of his diverse intellectual interests and a recognition of the interconnectedness of knowledge. Whewell's work, particularly his influence on the philosophy of science, emerged from an eclectic base. He made key contributions to the natural sciences, such as his work on optics and mechanics, and in philosophy, particularly in areas like epistemology and the history of science. He argued that scientific methods could be informed not only by empirical observation but also by broader philosophical and theological reflections. Lessons. Curiosity should know no bounds. Whewell's intellectual pursuits were not limited by boundaries that are often placed between disciplines today. He saw the value in crossing these boundaries to build a fuller, more integrated understanding of the world. This teaches us that curiosity can be a guiding principle in life, remaining open to various disciplines and seeking knowledge from every area of inquiry. Innovation through interdisciplinary collaboration. Whewell's interdisciplinary approach highlights that true innovation often arises from crossing the boundaries between subjects. His work in science, for example, was deeply influenced by his philosophical and theological interests. He believed that combining knowledge from different fields could create insights that would not be possible through a narrow, isolated approach. Expanding one's intellectual horizons. In Whewell's day, many scientists concentrated on specific fields like astronomy, geology, or physics. However, Whewell's capacity to work in both the sciences and the humanities, philosophy, ethics, and theology, showcases the power of broadening intellectual horizons. His ability to synthesize ideas across disciplines contributed to his groundbreaking work and offers us a model for how we might engage with new and unfamiliar areas of study in our own lives. 2. The power of language and precision in communication. Whewell's intellectual contributions were not limited to his scientific and philosophical insights. His linguistic legacy is also significant. He is credited with coining the term scientist in 1833. Prior to this, the term natural philosopher was commonly used for individuals engaged in scientific work. Whewell believed that the scientific community needed a distinct term that better captured the changing nature of scientific practice. This led to his invention of the word scientist, which has since become a cornerstone of the modern profession. Whewell's coining of this term speaks to his understanding of how language shapes thought and the way we categorize knowledge. A precise term is not just a linguistic tool, but a conceptual one. It can help individuals in a profession define their roles and unify their approach to shared goals. By introducing the term scientist, Whewell helped to solidify the identity of the emerging field of modern science. Lessons. The importance of clear communication. Whewell's coining of the term scientist teaches us that clear and precise language is not only a tool for communication but also a means of defining and clarifying complex ideas. It's a reminder that the language we use in any profession shapes the way we think about it and conduct our work. The right terminology can define disciplines, just as Whewell's invention of the term scientist helped define the profession. The words we use in our daily lives can define our roles in society and the workplace. Whether in science, business, or any other field, the introduction of accurate terminology can help bring coherence and organization to a profession or an intellectual movement. Think about words carefully. Whewell's contributions also underline the importance of thoughtful, deliberate language choices. While it might seem trivial, using the right word at the right time can completely change the understanding of a concept. As individuals engaged in communication, we must always be mindful of how our words shape our relationships, ideas, and perceptions. 3. The importance of empirical evidence and theory. Another key aspect of Whewell's work was his synthesis of empirical evidence and theory. He was highly interested in the philosophy of science and the role of theory in scientific practice. Whewell believed that empirical data alone was insufficient for building a deep understanding of natural phenomena. It needed to be interpreted within a theoretical framework. This insight foreshadowed later developments in the philosophy of science, including the concept of theory-latedness in observation, where our theories shape the way we perceive and interpret data. Whewell's belief in the connection between theory and empirical evidence was grounded in his broader understanding of how knowledge develops. For Whewell, scientific knowledge is not merely a collection of facts, but an evolving body of understanding that is shaped by both experience and thought. This dual process, he believed, is essential for uncovering the deeper truths of nature. Lessons. The symbiosis of empiricism and theory. Whewell's integration of theory and evidence teaches us that neither one can exist in isolation. Empirical data provides the foundation for understanding, but it must be framed within theories that give it meaning. In the modern world, this lesson is crucial in fields like economics, medicine, and psychology, where both evidence and theory must work in tandem to inform practice. Knowledge is a product of both observation and interpretation. Whewell's work suggests that science, and by extension any intellectual field, is not simply about collecting data but interpreting it. Knowledge is created through the synthesis of observation and theoretical understanding, and any attempt to generate meaningful insights must account for both aspects. Theory should evolve in response to evidence. Whewell's insistence that theory and evidence should evolve together points to the importance of flexibility in intellectual pursuits. In both science and personal growth, it's important to be open to revising theories or ideas when new information or experiences come to light. 4. Persistence and patience in the pursuit of knowledge. Whewell's career was not without its challenges, and his ideas often met with resistance, particularly from those who disagreed with his views on science and theology. As a thinker engaged in complex issues like the philosophy of science, ethics, and theology, Whewell faced substantial opposition. Despite this, he remained committed to his intellectual pursuits and continued to develop his ideas over decades. In particular, Whewell's relationship with the emerging theory of evolution is a prime example of his intellectual persistence. While he did not fully embrace the Darwinian model of evolution, he was open to new theories and sought to engage with them thoughtfully. His persistence in maintaining his intellectual integrity and his willingness to engage with new ideas, even when they challenged his beliefs, illustrate an important lesson in the importance of resilience. Lessons. Commitment to intellectual integrity. Whewell's ability to persist in his intellectual work, despite criticism or the rejection of his ideas, is a lesson in maintaining intellectual integrity. Whether or not his views were universally accepted, he remained true to his beliefs and continued refining his ideas. Resilience in the face of criticism. Whewell's work is a reminder that the path to knowledge is often fraught with disagreement and resistance. The willingness to persist despite challenges is an essential quality for anyone engaged in serious intellectual or personal growth. Patience in the process of discovery. The development of knowledge and ideas is rarely immediate or linear. Whewell's long and thoughtful engagement with both scientific and theological questions demonstrates the importance of patience in working through complex issues. It teaches us that profound insights take time to develop, and the process of learning is gradual. 5. Embracing progress and change in science and society. Whewell's work reminds us that intellectual and scientific progress often requires openness to change. While he held firm to certain principles throughout his life, such as his belief in the harmony of science and religion, he was also open to new ideas and willing to adapt. For example, although he did not fully accept Darwin's theory of evolution, he was nonetheless interested in how new discoveries could influence the broader understanding of science. This openness to progress is a crucial lesson, particularly in today's rapidly evolving world. Whether in science, technology, or society, we must be willing to accept and adapt to new ideas, recognizing that progress requires change. Lessons. Open-mindedness is key to progress. Whewell's willingness to engage with new ideas, even those he didn't fully accept, underscores the importance of open-mindedness. Intellectual progress requires us to listen to new ideas, reconsider established theories, and evolve our thinking. Embrace change in the pursuit of knowledge. Change is inevitable, and rather than resisting it, we should view it as an opportunity for growth. In science and other areas, progress depends on embracing new discoveries and adjusting our thinking accordingly. Challenge the status quo when necessary. Progress often involves challenging established norms and conventions. Whewell's intellectual work shows that it's crucial to question assumptions and be open to new ideas, even when they challenge the established order. 6. Integrating ethics and science. As both a theologian and philosopher, Whewell was deeply concerned with the ethical implications of scientific and technological advancements. He was committed to ensuring that science and knowledge were not pursued in a morally neutral vacuum but were always guided by a sense of ethical responsibility. Whewell's integration of ethics with science offers us a powerful model for contemporary issues, particularly in areas like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and environmental science. His work reminds us that knowledge and progress must be tempered by ethical considerations if they are to truly benefit society. Lessons. Ethical reflection should guide scientific endeavor. Whewell's efforts to integrate ethics with science show us that knowledge must be pursued with an awareness of its potential societal impact. Ethics should guide the direction of scientific research and the application of its findings. Science is not morally neutral. The development of new technologies and scientific insights should always be accompanied by ethical reflection. Just as Whewell believed, we must recognize that science is not a morally neutral activity and that its implications extend far beyond the laboratory. Promote the common good. Whewell's work in philosophy and theology reflects a deep concern for the well-being of humanity. His approach encourages us to consider the broader consequences of scientific and technological developments, always ensuring that they serve the common good. 7. The role of education in personal and societal development. William Whewell had a profound commitment to education throughout his life, both as a student and as an educator. As a fellow at Trinity College, Cambridge, and later as its master, Whewell played an instrumental role in shaping the intellectual atmosphere of the university. His dedication to education extended beyond traditional pedagogy, He viewed education as an essential vehicle for both personal and societal progress. Whewell's views on education were deeply influenced by his belief in the value of critical thinking and moral development. He was committed to the idea that education should not just impart knowledge but should also foster the development of character and the capacity for independent thought. For Whewell, the purpose of education was to create individuals who were not only knowledgeable but also ethical and capable of contributing to the betterment of society. Lessons. Education is a lifelong pursuit. Whewell's own commitment to learning, which lasted throughout his life, demonstrates that education does not stop with formal schooling. It is a lifelong process that involves continually expanding one's horizons and adapting to new knowledge. Critical thinking is central to education. Whewell believed that the best education was one that developed not just knowledge but the ability to think critically. This encourages us to focus on teaching methods that emphasize inquiry, problem-solving, and reflective thought rather than rote memorization. Education shapes society. Whewell's role at Cambridge underscores the influence that education has on society as a whole. By shaping the minds of future leaders and thinkers, education plays a crucial role in advancing both personal and societal development. Integrating moral development in education. Whewell's belief that education should nurture character and ethics reminds us that academic learning should be intertwined with moral and social development. An educated individual should not only possess intellectual acumen but also a sense of responsibility toward others. 8. The importance of humility in intellectual work. While Whewell's contributions to philosophy, science, and education were vast, he also exemplified intellectual humility. He was not someone who assumed absolute certainty in his views but rather was open to questioning, rethinking, and refining his ideas. Despite his prominent academic position, Whewell often engaged with ideas that conflicted with his own, particularly when confronted with the scientific advancements of his time, such as the rise of Darwin's theory of evolution. Whewell was notably cautious about accepting new theories outright, yet he was willing to explore and understand them in their proper context. This reflects a balanced attitude towards intellectual work, being open to new insights while recognizing the limits of one's own understanding. For Whewell, the search for knowledge was always ongoing, and intellectual progress depended on a recognition of one's fallibility. Lessons. Question your own ideas. Whewell's humility in intellectual inquiry suggests that it is essential to question one's own assumptions. Rather than being rigid or dogmatic, it is vital to remain open to criticism and to challenge your own beliefs, which ultimately leads to intellectual growth. Certainty is often illusory. Whewell's caution in asserting certainty reminds us that knowledge is not absolute. Intellectual humility is about recognizing the complexity of truth and the limitations of our understanding, especially when dealing with evolving or conflicting ideas. Embrace constructive criticism. Whewell's willingness to engage with conflicting ideas and adapt shows that intellectual humility involves seeking constructive feedback and using it as a tool for refining one's thinking. Intellectual progress requires openness. True progress in thought and understanding comes from being open to ideas that challenge your beliefs, without feeling threatened. Whewell's life teaches us that intellectual humility allows for growth, as we are more willing to accept new, potentially better explanations and theories. 9. The interconnectedness of science and religion. Whewell's intellectual life was deeply shaped by the interplay between science and religion. While many scientists in his time began to distance themselves from religious thought, Whewell firmly believed that the two could coexist. His approach was to reconcile scientific discoveries with the theological and moral understanding of the world. He argued that the natural world, with all its complexity and order, could be understood as a manifestation of divine will. For him, science and religion were not in opposition but complementary ways of understanding the world. Whewell's perspective was that scientific investigation did not disprove religious truths but rather deepened our understanding of the divine. He was an advocate for the idea that nature itself was a kind of divine text, and the more we understood its workings through science, the more we could appreciate the grandeur and wisdom of God. This perspective led him to advocate for a harmonious relationship between scientific inquiry and religious belief, an attitude that was not always prevalent in the scientific community at the time. Lessons. Science and religion can be harmonious. Whewell's life encourages us to view science and religion not as opposing forces but as complementary ways of understanding the world. He demonstrated that one does not have to choose between the two, and that both can coexist to provide a fuller understanding of existence. Search for truth in multiple realms. Whewell's integration of science and religion teaches us that truth can be sought in various realms: empirical, ethical, spiritual, and philosophical. Rather than narrowing our quest for knowledge, we should seek a more holistic understanding that incorporates both material and spiritual dimensions. Intellectual openness to different paradigms. Whewell's ability to navigate between science and religion shows the value of intellectual flexibility. We should not rigidly adhere to a single worldview but remain open to different ways of approaching the search for truth. Understanding nature as a spiritual exercise. Whewell's belief that understanding nature could enhance spiritual insight invites us to see scientific exploration not only as an intellectual pursuit but as a means to deepen our connection to the world and, for some, to the divine. 10. The responsibility of intellectuals to society. Throughout his career, Whewell emphasized that the role of intellectuals was not only to advance knowledge but also to contribute to the betterment of society. He viewed the intellectual and academic life as inherently tied to social responsibility. In his work, Whewell was often concerned with the moral and social implications of scientific and technological advances, and he believed that scholars and scientists had a duty to consider how their work impacted the broader community. Whewell's role in the development of Cambridge University further exemplified his sense of responsibility toward society. He didn't just contribute to the intellectual life of his time, he saw his role as a teacher and mentor as one that could shape the next generation of thinkers and leaders. In his view, the fruits of intellectual labor should not remain confined to academia but should be applied to the public good. Lessons. Intellectuals have a responsibility to serve society. Whewell's life demonstrates that knowledge should serve a larger purpose. Intellectuals, scientists, and educators should be mindful of the societal impact of their work, using their skills and discoveries to improve the well-being of others. Knowledge should be applied for the common good. Whewell believed that intellectual pursuits should not be purely self-serving. The pursuit of knowledge should be coupled with a commitment to its ethical application for the benefit of society. Lead by example. Whewell's dedication to teaching and mentoring shows that intellectual leaders have a duty to guide and inspire the next generation. By mentoring others and setting a positive example, scholars can multiply their impact on society. Social responsibility in science and technology. In our modern world, where scientific and technological advances often outpace ethical considerations, Whewell's emphasis on the social responsibility of intellectuals is especially relevant. We must constantly consider how our work will affect humanity at large and use our knowledge responsibly. Conclusion. William Whewell's life offers a rich array of lessons that transcend his specific contributions to science and philosophy. His intellectual legacy, spanning the integration of different fields, the importance of ethical reflection, the humility required in the pursuit of knowledge, and the responsibility of scholars to society, provides a timeless framework for approaching intellectual work. His commitment to education, the reconciliation of science and religion, and his dedication to the pursuit of truth in all its forms serve as a model for how we can engage with knowledge in a deeper, more meaningful way. Whether as students, educators, or professionals in any field, we can learn from Whewell's approach to integrate multiple disciplines, remain open to new ideas, and strive to use our knowledge to make a positive impact on the world. His life continues to inspire those who seek not only to understand the world but to improve it.